All right, everybody, welcome back into Mining Stock Daily. Let's chat a little silver exploration with Brixton Metals. They published new drill results last week from that Langis Silver Project up in the Cobalt Camp of Ontario. Big numbers. There was a half meter in there of 82,334 grams per ton silver. Just incredible. That was within 11 and a half meters of over 4,500 grams per ton silver. That was hole 290 where that big hit came from. So obviously we're going to talk about this and the ongoing developments with silver exploration at the project with Brixton's CEO, Mr. Gary Thompson. Gary, good afternoon. How you been?
Hey, Trevor. Good to see you again.
Yeah, that's a big number. That's probably, did that surprise the pants off of you?
Yeah, well, it definitely did. It's and I don't think the pictures in the news release do it justice when you see the core and it's just sparkling with silver, native silver. It's pretty remarkable. It's certainly by far the best hole we ever hit. In fact, the news release before this was 2 times better than what we put out, which I think was 18 meters of 3,600, including 6.8 and 9,400, which was 2x of better than any hole we drilled. And then, of course, this one came along. Pretty eye-popping. 82,000 grams. That's 2,900 ounces per ton.
Wow.
And you know what's cool about it is that, that's a nice splashy 0.5 meter interval. But if you look at that news release, we went through the whole interval that we recorded, and we put in those sample intervals per meter interval. So in addition to the 82,000, there's a 1140, there's a 2400, there's a 1370, 3340, 817. So nice long. It was 11.3 meter interval that was pretty well mineralized. Not all splashy like that one, but
right.
And then that hole ended in 123 meters. We actually hit a working. So the strategy that we've been using around the Langis is just drilling above and below the workings to see if they missed anything. And of course, this is a good example of what they didn't exploit. And so there's still some joy to be had around Langis, and our strategy is, just continue to drill around the workings and see if we can put together a resource around the workings. And obviously, would like to start to find that trend away from the known into the unknown. But we're still having fun in around the workings there. And we're drilling away as we speak and looking to add a second drill here mid-May. So going to get a lot of meters out of Langis this year.
Yeah, very good. All right. So this hole 290, obviously the highest grade that you've hit to date, and it's pretty remarkable. Tell us, this is your third set of drill results you've published since returning back to Langis here, Gary. With what's been published, are you starting to get a better sense of, geological model of what you're working with here with Langis on top of the old workings within the system, and really? If this isn't a high grade center of of contact, then I don't know what will be. But are you getting a better sense of kind of the dissemination of the silver mineralization here?
I think so. What we're learning is that it looks like there's a couple generations here. One is the native silver, and if you look at one of our releases, obviously we put out some nice pictures. So some has cobalt and this nickel sulfide in it, with some the really high grade stuff you mentioned, the 82,000 grams, has a fair amount of cobalt and nickel in there. We did a little micro XRF map as well that shows the silver and the cobalt, how it forms. But also in the previous release, we put out some very good results as well was more native silver. Some of it had some cobalt, but there was some that was just native silver going into these fractures. So there's two things happening. One is that you've got the cobalt and nickel sulfide with silver, and then you've got veins that are just just silver, native silver going
Mm.
into these fractures. So what we're trying to do is understand why is it a remobilization of silver? Maybe this Nipissing dive-based sill had at least that's one school of thought is that the heat engine came in and remobilized silver fluids into where we're seeing some cases this native silver veins shooting into the rocks, really with no alteration around it. There's no alteration envelope. So to me, it's almost like a quenching of you've got silver rich fluids, and then there's some pressure difference from some tectonic movement or
Mm.
something, and then the silver gets quenched into these fractures. So that's one idea that we're working with to try and help vector us into the more silver rich stuff. Not that the cobalt silver is good too, but I think just going into the more silver dominant area is kind of what we're trying to figure out. Is does that really matter, or is it just all lumped in together? So that's a
Mhm.
bit of a jigsaw puzzle to work through. But yeah, what's interesting, we were confident that we would hit some high grade because even though we haven't drilled here, we've had it for a decade now, this project. And, remember when we acquired this thing back in 2016, it was to offset our seasonality with Thorn, which, you know, your listeners may know that Thorn has been our flagship and we spent a lot of money and time there. And it's a big prize opportunity for sure. Um, but given the big move we've seen in silver this year, we wanted to give Langis a good go. And this is probably be the biggest year of drilling that you know, that this project has ever seen. And so trying to get enough meat on the bones, if you will, to get this thing into a
Mhm.
resource category. So even though Langus produced over 10 million ounces of silver at 25 ounce per ton, there's currently no resource here. We want to change that and start to put some numbers around what it might look like from a development scenario.
The exploration's been successful here, Gary, and continues to. Still early in the campaign. How many holes do you still have budgeted to be released here yet?
Yeah, I think we're about 8,000 meters in. So, I don't know off the top of my head how many, but lots of holes to come. And, we're
Yeah.
planning to add another drill here in mid-May. So right now I'm kind of looking at this like we could potentially drill 60, 70,000, maybe 80,000 meters here over the course of the next 12 months. My rule of thumb on these is one drill can get you about 2,500 to 3,000 meters per month. You just do the
Mhm.
math and you multiply it up and it, gets to be some pretty good numbers. Now, the beauty of
Sure.
this area is that our drilling costs are remarkably low. We're like, I think the budget just came in. I get a weekly update on numbers, and we're about $160 a meter all in, which is remarkably low, compared to our Thorn project. For the same dollars, we'll get, 15 to 20,000 meters at Thorn, and we'll get 60 to 70,000 meters here for the you know, same budget. So yeah, good reason to push more on Langus, I think, this year.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, just because the results have been good at Langis, and obviously at this time of year, you're also really digging down and planning for the exploration season up in the Golden Triangle at Thorn. Are we seeing a little bit of a repositioning with priority exploration capital being maybe realigned with your projects in the portfolio? Do you expect to maybe do more? Obviously, you're already doing more at Langis than you have at Thorn in years, but are you considering maybe spending a lot more capital at Langis and maybe taking away from some of that from Thorn?
Yeah, I kind of think so. That seems to be the consensus internally here. Um, just given the bang for the dollar for meterage and all the infrastructure that's available here in Langus, like you got everything you need for a low cost operation. Whereas we know that there's a big prize at Thorn, but we're challenged by infrastructure. The cost per meter is high. It's a trade off, isn't it? The big prize is there, I think, but also need the cost to get that is a bigger ticket. So Yeah, I think a rebalancing is a good way to put it. You know, there's that old saying is when the ducks are quacking, feed them, give them what
Mm,
they want. And with the silver prices, and I think the opportunity on this project just hasn't really seen the effort. And if you go back to like 2018, we had 4 projects. Now we're
mhm,
down to 2. We've got the other projects farmed out to Ivanhoe Electric and El Dorado in good hands. They're drilling. Again, this will be the first time in the company's history that all four projects are going to get drilled. And yeah, I kind of feel like that Langis will give us more joy this year. Um, and I think the last couple of weeks is a good example of that. We're seeing an uptick in our share price,
mhm.
inbound calls and from investors and analysts wanting to learn more about this project. And so yeah, it's kind of exciting actually. It's about time I think that we've given Langis a good go here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let me so you've been pretty consistent with the first 3 batches of drill results, about once a week, give or take, a little padding on each side of there. So should we be expecting more drill results later this week or early next week here, Gary?
Well, we've been put it this way, we started drilling in mid-January and we're now in March and just starting to come out with results. So
Mhm,
I would say we're gonna see more results, but it's been a really slow and um, inconsistent flow from the lab. So we've seen we're still waiting on like one of the early holes we drilled. We're still waiting on, and we put out
oh,
results
okay.
from later holes. So I think the labs are um, not put it this way. They haven't gotten back to the pre-COVID turnarounds. It's been frustratingly slow for the results turnaround. So I can't give you a time on when. I think we'll just get them out when we have a batch to put out as it comes out. But I think the way to look at our season here, I think as we get into May and June and July, we're going to have a lot more drilling meterage from all the projects, and
Mhm,
so I think yeah, come the summer we're going to have a bit of a it might be a bit overwhelming on the amount of data coming out, but
okay.
we're kind of in a bit of a slow mode, I think, until we really get ramped up here.
Yeah, all right. Well, it doesn't matter how fast it comes in, but the more data, the better when it comes to exploration. Gary,
Sure.
thanks so much. Obviously, a lot of drill results coming down the pipeline from Langis. Then we'll also talk about what an exploration program at Thorn looks like this year as we continue to follow the story throughout the spring. Thanks so much for your time, Gary. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, Brixton Metals trades on the Venture with BBB and on the OTCQX with BBBXF. The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.